So, Alex, how do you explain the popularity of Zoe's playlist? Because every time I watch the show, I just feel so uplifted, and it's always these different storylines, and but it's always so hard to explain why everybody loves the show. So, from your perspective, why do you think the show is so popular?
Um, I think it's popular because music brings people together. Music itself is such a tool that everyone can relate to at the end of the day. And when we think of Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, there's so much heart to it. There's the grief of it all, and losing a father, and losing a husband, and losing a a family member in general that a lot of people can relate to. There's the love aspect of it all, of being connected to so many people and trying to figure that out. There's this budding friendship of these two characters that are nothing alike that make people look at their own lives in a different lens. I think there's so many different facets there.
What do you love about your character? I have my answer, but I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Um, I love the character because it's such so different than any other character that we've seen on TV thus far. I mean, it's it's me essentially. It's kind of I always say that the character I look at the character and I play the character as who if I were watching this show and if I were a fan of the show, what would I want to see from this character? What would I want from this character? How would I want this character to act and how to move and how to sing and walk through life? And it's an extension of someone that is me, essentially.
I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of my perspective. I've never seen anybody like you on TV at all, and I find that appealing. Anything that's unique or just well written, I find just special, and that's what makes your performances so special, because you take this unique character, and damn if you don't just take it and run with it. I mean, do, do they just give you notes sometimes? So you're just like, are they just like, do what you do, Alex? And
A majority of the time, it's just do what you do, which is it's nice, but there's a lot of responsibility with that. But I've been doing it for so long, living and existing and kind of cultivating this character in just life.
have they ever come up with some sort of choreography where you just had to tell them to take a step back for a second and you were like, wait a minute, you want me to do what? Or has everything been in your wheelhouse? Because I see you do some moves sometimes, and I jump out of my chair. I'm like, holy mackerel! Like, what did she? I mean, how the hell did she do that?
You know,
Pardon my language.
there's a lot of things. I mean, for the most part, I don't dance on the show a lot, which I'm very thankful for. But
But
no,
you do
everything
move.
is. I do move. Everything is kind of in my wheelhouse, and our team dance, Mandy Moore and Jilly Myers, they're really good, and Jeffrey Mortensen. They're really good at putting, making it feel like it's organically coming out of you, rather than putting choreography on you, which I'm so used to, which sometimes I'm just like, just put it on me. Just put the choreography on me. I don't want to have to think about what I did, if I did it, how I did it. Just put the choreography on me and we can just go smooth sailing to the end. But no, it's all in my wheelhouse. I come from a giant musical theater background where I had to learn how to sing, dance, and act, and tap dance, and modern, and jazz, and hip hop, and all of that good stuff before.
So now, out of the whole season to date, what's been your episode that you have enjoyed being a part of the most?
I mean, it's always going to be episode 104, which was Most Extraordinary Neighbor. I think that that one is kind of, like I said, what I would want to see if I were a fan of this show. I grew up in church my entire life, and I always felt like the odd duck out and the person that wasn't truly accepted, even though I was accepted. Um, and bringing that to television, I know so many of my friends that grew up in church felt the same way, that are queer. They felt the same way growing up their entire lives, and I really wanted to showcase it on television.
It's very important to me personally, especially with two sons, that see that type of representation, because I hope we live in a world where it's no longer about representation, where it's about life. That's, these are people. It's not necessarily, whatever label you want to come off. They're just part of the world. And what's great about Zoey is that I think Zoey's part of the solution. The show is the part of the solution, because we have to get to a place in the world where we're normalizing these type of things, where people just, for lack of a better term, back off, and that's where you guys come in. And that's why I love the fact that you guys are always willing to take risks. So I appreciate what you do, I guess is where I'm going with that. I
Thank
appreciate
you so much.
and is there any place this show has gone where you were like, okay, we're going to actually go to this point, to this, we're actually going to talk about this? Or are you at the point now where there's no surprises?
Well, I mean, there shouldn't be any surprises, to be honest. I think that when storytelling, you have to tell every story. You have to be willing to take the risk and say things that not everybody's going to 100% agree with, or that they'll understand wholeheartedly. I think television should be a place to question people's train of thought and mind. I mean, that's why we had such a surgence of family sitcoms back in the day, where we were really testing the limits of what family meant to people and asking those questions in a way.
But I think what Zoey does, what you do, what the whole cast does, quite frankly, and this is why, Alex, not to say that I'm biased, but let me be biased for a second. I think you deserve all the flowers and all the roses during this award season, my dear. I think you've had one of your best seasons to date, is that you guys are taking that whole misnomer that, the sitcoms and the family is about family, but no, it's not. It's about love. Love can form a family no matter what. And I think that's at the heart of your performance. Your performance is driven by love. Okay. And that's why people love your character. I mean, are you at a point now where people are stopping you more and more, or are you still able to still be incognito when you go out in public? I mean,
Oh my
where are
goodness,
we at?
I don't even know what incognito is. Coming off of Glee, that kind of went away for a very long time. Incognito, I wish that I could be. That's why I moved to New York, really. I don't get stopped as much in living in New York because no one cares.
So that's where you're at. So that view's in New York right now?
No, we're still up in Vancouver filming right now.
Oh, but that's such a great view. Holy, I'm just looking at
Thank
the window behind you. Do some of those super fans from Glee still stop you and like make references to shows that like you have to like stop and think about? Or
I mean, I still get stopped on the street at restaurants. I was literally walking into a coffee shop here with my mask on and sunglasses on and was recognized, and they were just like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. I love your face. I love what you do, blah, blah, blah." Yes, I think I remember I was so young when I did Glee. I was 18 up until I was like 23, 24, or 22. I don't remember. But I remember everything because I was literally just a sponge the entire time, absorbing every moment of it because I was living my dream of being on my favorite television show and acting on it, and to see these people that I was looking up to each and every day. I remember every moment. So when fans ask me about it, I'm just like, yeah, that happened. It was cute. It was fun.
I mean, most actors go through like one set of a great show and they're like, wow, I'm super fortunate. But damn, you go from Glee to this. I mean, with Zoe's, I mean, you're on quite a roll. I mean, hopefully Zoey keeps going and going. And I think it will, because it's one of those shows that seems to have it's gonna have longevity, and I think, man, I mean, do you find yourself just pinching yourself? Do you pinch yourself sometimes because of this show? I mean, dear Lord.
I mean, I guess, it's all just so second nature. Like, it really is. I've been doing this type of show for so long, and I guess I still am living on that Glee high of having a successful show and then having a very successful Broadway run, and then coming to this show and it being really successful as well. I'm just always on this like cloud nine, just kind of riding the wave till it's done, and then try to see what can be from there. It's nice to like realize that what I trained for all those years ago with the singing and dancing and acting is kind of coming into a resurgence of people really appreciating it and really appreciating the craft of singing and really appreciating the craft of musical television. Because before Glee, all we had was like fame, and then there was a big lull about it all, and no one really cared about it. And so now to see the success of it is just beautiful for me, and I hope more and more kids get to understand the passion that I had watching shows on TV that were musical.
You mean to tell me that musical television isn't just Debbie Allen screaming at people that they did it wrong and they have to do it again and again? And
No, there's so many other facets of it. I mean, I love if you want fame, well, fame costs right here, where you're going to pay for it in sweat. And I love that TV series as well, but there is so many other facets of it. And that show didn't cater to a Broadway musical theater kind of caliber as well. It was kind of original music and pop all the time.
well, what I want to know is, do you have any aspirations to like get into the writing element of the show? Do you have any ideas that you've pitched to the writers for Zoey, or you just kind of go with what they come up with?
No, I mean, I'm very vocal. I've always been very vocal.
You vocal? I'm shocked.
104 is my essential storyline, and I gave that to Austin to create.
So that was you. That was your story.
That literally was my storyline. Like I lived that story.
Okay.
Between that and the queer experience in dating, I gave them that storyline as well that we'll see on the second half of the season more. And I've always said something, because I want to see, like I say, if I'm watching the show, if I'm a fan of the show, I want to see this from this character.
So for fans of the show, if you were going to give them a tease as to where your character's headed, you got any maybe hints you want to drop here, or will I get, or will I get, will an NBC person take me out sniper wise?
There is always something to be said. I mean, there's a new love interest coming soon, and it's looking like it's lasting. So there's that.
So that's the tease. There love's in the air for you.
Yeah.
I love that.
Love is in the air for Mo this coming season.
Now, with your theater background, I'd be remiss to tell you to not hit on that as we're going to wrap this up. In this era of COVID, it's made theater productions harder and harder. Okay, and I know locally that theater productions just got the green light to be able to do indoor performances where I'm based, and there's a lot of restrictions. It's not probably what you grew up with. Shoot, it's not what I grew up with. I did musical theater back in the day. Obviously, I wasn't great at it, or I'd be doing something else. I get to talk to you about it now. So, if you had to give any words of encouragement to those theater, geeks that are out there, those musical theater buffs that are ready to do their best as we come down the home stretch for their final performance of the year, even underneath all of these restrictions, what would you say?
There are some times where the theater is to capacity, standing room only, and then there are some shows where it's at 10%, 50%, and you're looking at a lot of empty seats, but you have to get up and give the same show as if it was at capacity. And you don't do it for the audience, you do it for the love that you have for it most days, and the love that you want the people that are watching this show to have a phenomenal experience.
I'm used to seeing you on Luke Cage. I miss you on Luke Cage, and I want you back in the superhero universe, John. Well, how can we fix this?
Bro, I want to be in the superhero universe too. I think the only way to fix it is to get something trending on Twitter, have it go viral, and then we can make it happen. Or just get someone to offer me the role. I'm gonna do it. Jon Stewart, Green Lantern, that might be cool. But yeah.
Would you do it?
Absolutely, bro. What are you talking about? Yes. Where would
And
you, where would you like to see me though? In what part of the universe?
honestly, I could put you in a lot of different places. In fact, I saw something on Twitter today that it took me a second, and I immediately got what the person was talking about. They said that you would be the perfect Doctor Doom.
Doctor Doom.
You could go all villain in the X-Men universe. That's coming up, man. That's a multi-year deal.
That is a multi-year deal, and I would love to be a villain. I think I'd be a very good villain, actually.
Well, you have the
Yes.
range. I mean, you've demonstrated the range. You can go there.
And this is true. This is true. Man, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
I
Yeah.
realize that we're supposed to be talking about Zoey and everything, but I had these things on my mind and I had to get them off my chest.
You know what, man? It's a safe space between us, bro. So like you bring it to the space, I don't reject any of it. I receive it. It's like it's something that I would love to do. Doctor Doom, absolutely. Let's put it in the universe and make it happen, bro.
Well, that and the fact that I loved you and what as well. So, I mean, we've had a history. We've gone back a long ways, you and I.
I mean, look, dude, I'm glad to have a shared history with you, my guy.
Yes, it's like looking in a mirror. If like my mirror was like the funhouse kind and yours was like perfect, because my Lord, you got it going on. You got all of this buzz going on in award season. You're on a great TV show. And I have to imagine when you were given the outline for episode 6 or the script for episode 6, you had to be like, holy fill in the blank. Because what an episode, John.
I mean, bro, I knew about this episode back in late June, July, right? So I knew this was coming down the pike, and yeah, when I heard that, I talked to Austin, our showrunner, and he said that we were going this route. I was reluctant, honestly. I was like,
Why?
well, because I know that, well, one, it's right after George Floyd had been killed. And I feel this immense responsibility to tell the truth, right? And I thought that I'd be bound by the limitations of the powers that be, that we would somehow tell a story that was like close but not quite. And if it was close but not quite, it can still do damage to people, real people. And I felt like I didn't want to hurt the Black community. I wanted to make sure that if we were going to tell the story, then we told it as specifically and as honestly as we could. And Austin was all on board. He was like, absolutely, that's what our intent is. And I asked him if it was okay if I be a part of the process, and he allowed me that, the opportunity to be very integrated in a part of the process, and that put me at ease a lot. So I knew what was coming down the pike. And I talked to Zorbik and Gaga, our writer. Austin put us in touch with one another when I was in my quarantine, my first quarantine when I got up to Vancouver. And he and I talked on the phone for 2.5 to 3 hours, our first call, just going back and forth about our experience in the world as Black men, our experience in the world as Black people in white spaces, and the fact that we really want to tell the truth. And he was telling me about what he was writing and what his goals were, and they were aligned with mine. And some of the conversations we had made their way into the script itself. He had conversations with Kippy Talwalker, with Alex Newell as well. And it was just this collaborative effort to get things right. Because everyone from Austin to, our third PA, Michelle, saying everybody really wanted to make sure that we told the story the right way. And I'm grateful that there was the intention placed to have all Black artists musically in the episode. I think that is also a part of the framework of wanting to get specific and wanting to tell the truth, and also to bring in Luther Brown. I thought that was a really great call on Mandy's part to bring in Luther Brown, because even the physical language, we wanted it to be very intentional and specific as well. So it was a beautiful process. It was labor though. Like, don't get it twisted. It was it was a lot of labor. It was very hard conversations, and an effort to make sure that we didn't have these hollow, contrived archetypes, but we had these flesh and blood human beings who are flawed, just trying to do the best they can.
I th- and this is me talking, and you can either agree or just kind of nod, and we'll just. Uh, um, I think I think African American artists already feel an intense amount of pressure when we're dealing with socioeconomic, these type of pertinent issues that need to be discussed. But when they're asked to tell the story, there's even more pressure because there's the burden of getting it right and the burden of not coming off contrived and the burden of not setting progress back by taking the easy way out. So I have to imagine when you tackle something like this, when you have that big musical number that you did in this episode, not so much the musical number, but the content of the song, that, you almost had to be emotionally drained from this episode.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, I was emotionally, I had a weight on me that I'd been living with that didn't leave until the episode came out. And I saw how it was being received in the world. And I saw that people understood it and got what we were going for, that people felt seen and people felt heard. And I didn't realize that that weight was there until I watched it. I watched it on FaceTime with my girlfriend. And I mean, after it was over, I just bawled on the phone with her and just said, we did it. It's out there. We did it. And and you're right. There is such a responsibility because the truth is there aren't enough stories out there. So it feels like every swing has to be a home run. And the way that money works, the way that Hollywood works, the way that industry works is if you don't do it right, then everyone backs away and they're afraid and no one wants to put money into the space and blah, 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 que sera. But when you have the opportunity to tell the Black or brown perspective, it is of the utmost importance to do everything in your power, in my power, speak for yourself, in my power, to get it right. And that means, for me, it was very meta in a certain way, because I had to take up a lot more space than I'm accustomed to as an actor. And realize and lean into the fact that the whole reason I'm doing it, the whole reason I'm taking up the space that I'm taking up, the whole reason I want to read the script and make sure that everything is earned, the whole reason why is we're doing this number, Black Men in a White World, and I'm intentionally tapping into a specific space inside of myself that means letting myself unleash a part of me, all of that to get to the nerve, all of that for every black and brown person that is watching, and also for every human being that is watching, so that they can see the truth. Like, it's the responsibility is heavy, and fortunately we're in a space on our team, on our show, where though there were difficult conversations, though there were different iterations of the script that came out, what we had at the end of the day is something that we can all stand by and be proud of. Everyone felt that their perspective was done justice in a very specific way. And I think that the biggest testament to that is how it's received. And the fact that it's not only people who look like me that feel Simon, it's people who don't look like me that feel Simon. It's not only people that look like Zoey that feel Zoey, it's people who don't look like Zoey that feel Zoey, because that specificity breeds the universality that drives the point home.
I thought the writing was important. I thought you were important to the episode, of course. and I thought getting the tone right was important, and you've hit on all that. But I thought the blocking and Black Man in a White World had to be perfect in order for the song to hit what it needed to hit. I have to ask, how long was the blocking? How long did it take to block before you shot that actual scene?
I mean, we had, I think I had 1 or 2 rehearsals. I had one rehearsal with nobody there on the steps. And then I had another rehearsal, like maybe another rehearsal with no one there on the steps. And then I had a rehearsal with all of the bodies in space. And then we shot it. That was it. And for me, the I love that you said that, because the trajectory is so intentional.
It
Like,
is.
and the way that you have this Black man maneuvering through these the image that they used in the rehearsal and the choreography was like there's these trees, branches moving through, and finding what the language of that is. Finding, for me, some of the questions I had were, okay, so if Simon is a Black man and he's moving through these branches, what happens if he touches one? Does he see them? Does he respond to them? What's his relationship to all of this? And what happens when he steps off of it? What does that look like? Because when I take in choreography, it's always through this space of character and intention and why. And Luther was very intentional and specific about communicating, like, even from the beginning of the song, what is moving Simon forward through the space and everyone. This idea of ancestors moving through and propelling Simon forward, this sense of that there's something that is beyond oneself that's pushing them through this space. It was so intentional and so specific. And even on the day while we were shooting it, take to take, things changed. It was alive, man. It was alive.
If anybody listening to that explanation doesn't go back and watch that sequence alone, you're missing out on a bigger part of that episode, in my opinion. So, I mean, I would urge you to go back and watch the episode anyways, because it's brilliant. But that particular sequence really, the choreography really speaks to a larger message that the whole point of that episode was, which is the navigation of Black Man in a White World, and that's why it's gotten what it's got in terms of the buzz. And John's getting this buzz because he obviously nailed it, and he's had a fantastic. Well, he's been fantastic the whole time he's been on the show. Let's be honest, but I mean, this season, I mean, people are just starting to be like, oh, damn, Jon Stewart, he's John C. Stewart, he's kicking ass, man. We need to give him some awards love. Now, have you thought about all this buzz that you've got right now? I mean, is it kind of weird?
I mean, yes, it is weird.
Of course it is.
Yeah, it'd be disingenuous to say that it isn't. It's weird. A lot of this is outside of my comfort zone. I love doing the work, man. I love doing the work and building the thing. And also, this is something that I've never experienced before, this idea of, doing so much press. Haven't been in that space necessarily, specifically surrounding something that's so charged and so personal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a very enlightening and intentional, and this has been it's been another part of the process to know that I am going to be articulating what my experience was, what my intention was, what our intention as a unit was, in a way that is honest, in a way that doesn't somehow absolve us of the labor that the labor that was involved in making this. I had a moment of dissonance a while back when we were about to start doing press, and I talked to a good friend of mine, and I was like, bro, can I be honest? like, like, can I tell that?
Of
Like,
course you
can I be
can.
honest? Can I tell the truth? Can I? And he was just like, bro, absolutely, man. I mean, you have to, right? I
I
mean,
mean,
and the thing is,
you're part of the best written show on television. I mean, when you're that well written, you can take chances, and
mm,
this is why you are in the position you are. I mean, some shows aren't willing to go there, and Zoe goes there in different, areas, and that's why you hear about, Jane and whatnot, but now people are starting to catch up to the fact that, hey, it's not just Jane on the show. There are other people part of the cast, and it's this
mm,
well-rounded ensemble, and we're hearing about you and Al. I mean, it's just people are starting to get with the program. I think I think you guys were always there and killing it, and just now with this episode and with Alex, getting some love now. I mean, it might be quite a feat come they get that envelope, and you guys start maybe pulling some wins, and the network, we're going to have to start looking at you guys and pushing you guys even more. It'll be even more press for you. I hope you're ready for that. And maybe Dr. Doom does come your way now, and we're putting that out in the universe because we want you to be Dr. Doom.
well, I appreciate that, and I'll also say this: I have a new respect because I haven't been in a space where I've had to build relationship with journalists, with critics.
Yeah.
And I have a new respect for the critic, for the journalist, and the conversations I've had while I've been doing this press have been the most profound and beautiful conversations that I've ever had as an artist in this space. And that it's not lost on me. It makes me excited to move forward and excited to talk about things more when I believe in them the way that I do. And it's this episode, this show has been a massive gift to me, man. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we're being honest, Allison had more profound questions than I did. I was just more self-serving, talking about all the cool shows I saw you in, and how much I wanted you to be a superhero. I mean, Allison's, these other critics have these deep questions. Me, hey man, you want to be Green Lantern? Hey man, you want to be in Marvel? Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be here for Zoey. Yeah, let's talk about that so the people listening in on our conversation don't kill me via email. Sorry, press people who are listening to us right now that I know are listening and shaking their heads at me.
So you're the anti-press press. You do what you want. That's the thing. You do what you want on your own terms, and I love that.
I mean, I guess. I mean, I just have these questions and thoughts. I mean, and I just hope these people who are watching the episodes and watching your work see that the purpose and the thought that goes into what you've done, and that the people who are voting see that too, and that when they're making these decisions, they realize that there's more to what you've done than necessarily meets the eye. They need to dig deeper, take a look at the quality of the work, and that's why I wanted to do this. That's why I, blackout be damned at your house. I was gonna wait to talk to you. We had to talk about this episode, sir. We had to talk about you,
bro. Thank you, man.
No, I'm just glad you have power, John. Seriously. I'm just glad that you have light, that I can see your face. You do have power, right?
I do have power. That's a whole other thing we're gonna get into now, or we could. Doesn't matter to me. But like, I do have power now, and it's wonderful.
What was it? Like a tree or something?
No, bro. So the building that I'm in, they changed ownership, and some of the units are in transition or something like that, or like owned by the old folks. And for some reason, a bunch of different units got shut off. The power got shut off today, and so I came home from work, and everything was dark. And sometimes I have to sit in the dark because busy day, wind down, whatever. My first red flag was not being able to connect to my Wi-Fi, and I was like, this is weird. No Wi-Fi. Reached out to my landlord. She didn't get back to me right away. And I was like, it's no biggie. I turn on the light. No light. what? Fridge is off. Open the fridge. Everything is off. I'm like, everything's off. I have this, and I have interviews. I can't abide this. Go down to the concierge. Concierge looks at me and he's like, yeah, this has happened a few times. You need to call someone. And I was like, great, thank you for the specificity, bro. And he told me I needed to call West Bank Corp. Then I reached out to my landlord. She called them. She told me that there's a situation going on. Told me to shut off all the lights, and they would try to do a remote to turn everything on remotely. So I did that. Everything turned on. And now I'm here talking to you after talking to the marvelous Allison. And I mean, you know, I'm grateful that you waited up. I it is important. It is of the utmost importance for me. And I love that everything you just said, because there's so much work and intention and digging that went into this episode on a personal level for me. Each moment, each scene, and on a personal level for Cap and Alex, and Zora and Anya and Luther. It's so very personal, and none of it is taken. Like there's not a beat in this episode that is frivolous or that is not curated. And I think you get that. You feel the intention, scene to scene and shot to shot, frame to frame, and yeah.